Yeah, and welcome everyone to this very short webinar on Reiki for the current times. Now, I found Reiki when I hit that place. I had kind of like left South Africa, went to the UK, from the UK, immigrated to Canada, and I had a very, very successful career, corporate career in Edinburgh. And with the shifting and changing to Calgary, it was very interesting because it was very much part of my journey into spirituality. And we all know that when things start to shift, or perhaps life starts to kind of like break in many ways. So I found myself needing to intern, even after having 15 years of corporate marketing experience. I didn't have oil and gas experience. And then I found my first place bullying as well. So trying to adjust to a new country, trying to adjust to a new industry, trying to adjust to everything, I found myself in a space of being very, very depleted. I found myself being very, very stressed. It was actually, I was so stressed that it was actually starting to affect me physically. Like my gums were kind of like, bleeding all over the place. I was like spending most of my nights overthinking, worrying, waking up. And it was awful. And I was really skating on the edge of depression, I think there for a little bit of a time. The not sleeping did not help. And the pressures of needing to do something or needing life to look a certain way. So I had actually hit my space of something needs to shift. I could see, being intuitive, that, I had ignored all the signs that was telling me to slow down. I'd ignored all the signs that was telling me to change direction. And then it started actually affecting me. Besides my gum, I actually ended up breaking my leg playing softball. Mums and pups, bottom of the league, non-competitive softball game, and I broke my leg in 5 places. Now, I believe that nothing is an accident. And yeah, when I do things, I really do them properly, right? There's no messing around. But on a subconscious level, that actually gave me 6 months off work and 6 months to really start taking care of myself. But where I started to find Reiki was I started noticing on a physical, mental, and emotional aspect that I was blocked, that I was stressed, that I was pushed to my limit. And I started reaching back to my spiritual beginnings. And I was very, very fortunate to have grown up in a family where a lot of this woo-woo was accepted. We did a lot of hands-on healing. We did a lot of tea leaf reading. We have many mediums in my family, empaths, all sorts of things. So this was the world that I was going back to my basics, right? And this is the basics for everyone, whether you've grown up in it or not. We are intuitive. We are multidimensional beings. And if we start looking at everything from a space of frequency and vibration, everything can be broken down to frequency and vibration. And what happens is, when we're not vibrating at the ideal frequency for who we are, things start to go awry. And if we look at it from a physical perspective, for example, every organ has a vibrational frequency, okay? Like an orchestra. If you think of our body like an orchestra, where, our, cardiovascular system could be all the string instruments, our respiratory system could be all the brass instruments, and so it goes. So what happens is, when one organ starts to feel a little bit off for various reasons, it starts, if you think of it as an instrument, the timing of it either starts to slow down or speed up. Okay. And when that happens, it starts putting pressure on all the other members of the orchestra. And eventually the timing comes out for everyone. And then there's just noise. And that's exactly what's happening in our bodies. Okay. So having that awareness, I thought, okay, I need to get to a space where I need to start shifting the energy within my body. And I was like, okay, and for some reason I was like, it needs to start at the chakras. And I used to do a lot of hands-on healing when I was a kid. And I was like, okay, what is hands-on healing? So I typed it in English because I'm Portuguese, is my first language. And I typed in hands-on healing, and Reiki kind of like popped in. And that's the first introduction I had as Reiki. So I thought, okay, you know, this hands-on healing must be called Reiki. So off I went to Mount Royal University here because I wanted to formalize my instruction, and I started doing Reiki. And what I started noticing is with the Reiki, it started to bring up a lot of things that I had suppressed that needed to be released. Okay, it helped me to start feeling calmer. It helped me to sit within what I was doing and to shift through through that state that I was in. Okay, and I'm finding that a lot of people at the moment, with the current circumstances, with what we're faced at the moment, with the transition that we are facing at the moment, we're moving very much from a masculine structural way of living with the foundational structures like banking, health, education, you know, all of that is coming up to be reviewed. And usually what is happening on a macro environment is also happening on a micro environment. So we are reflective as a body or as a being of what is happening on the outside. And as the structures of society shift and change, so too does the physiology of who we are start to change as well. And a lot of you will notice that during the times of when kind of COVID actually started, we were kind of like forced to go within and look at our own structures, because we were very much kind of like stagnant as humanity, that we were also very much stagnant in our spiritual expansion. Okay, and as a collective, we actually brought something together which would kind of like surface everything so that it could be cleared, so that we could awaken, so that we could, an awakening for me is really an expanded version of our consciousness. So being conscious of who we are in this world. And what happened is a lot of us tend to be busy trying to help others, busy working 9 to 5, busy doing life, that we've become into this automated kind of, you know, wake up, go to work, come home, make dinner, eat, watch TV, recycle, you know, and it was becoming very, very stagnant as a species. So I'm finding that as things shift and move, a lot is being brought up, a lot is being surfaced, so that we can have a look at our lives, so that we can have a look to getting to know who we are, and we can have a look at what we are actually wanting to do while we're here. So this wonderful perspective that we have gotten especially forced to look at over the last year and a half is, who am I? Why am I here? What is the quality of my life? What is the quality of my friends? What is the quality of my health? What is the quality that I'm putting into my body? What is the quality that I'm putting into my mind? And what is the quality that I'm feeding my soul? The disconnect to connecting to nature, the disconnect to connecting to who we are, the disconnecting to accepting all 50 shades of who we are has been forced to be surfaced. So I kind of found that the intuition that I got is everybody, and even if you've had this awakening, is back at, or a lot of people are at that point that I was when I needed to surrender my corporate career, start looking at my health, and then doing another aspect, which is helping others work through what they're going through and to expand and, you know, themselves, expand their health, and to empower them by giving them the tools to be able to do that. Now, Reiki is an amazing tool to do that. They talk about Reiki being the gateway modality to really starting to take your health into your own hands, because we really need to be responsible for our health, okay? And we're going to start looking where the modern medical system and the natural medical system are going to start working together. But before that happens, we need to get to that space of uncomfortable, which is where we're reaching to. We haven't reached that yet, before we actually start taking our health into our own hands. A lot of the things that have been happening as well is we're starting to see that the Western medical system is not the be and end all of all things. Okay, so where it's absolutely needed. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's not needed. Again, when I broke my leg in 5 places, I was very grateful for the surgeons. I was very grateful for the medicine that they gave me. I was very grateful for the hospital care that I needed. Okay. However, that was a Band-Aid. Okay. There was a lot that was happening mentally. There was a lot that was happening emotionally that wasn't being taken care of. Okay. How I see medicine moving is that natural medicine, all these different types of modalities, are going to be supporting our health before it gets to the stage of needing to get to the place where we are ill. Okay, so it's kind of like natural medicine is going to be used as a preventative measure before it gets to, you know, really working with the modern medicine. Okay. Because this is in transition, I found it very important to start talking about using these modalities to start working on yourself, to empower you to take your healing into your own hands. Now, when we start working with Reiki, it starts working on all levels, okay? If we look at dis-ease, so breaking down that word, dis-ease, by the time it reaches the body, it has already moved through the various energetic fields of who we are, okay? And it does this through our thoughts, through our emotions, then our etheric field, which is the light body that sometimes we see, that is exactly the same as, you know, the outline of our physical form. And that body is the energetic form that translates what's happening in the mental, emotional field to the body. Okay. So by the time dis-ease is found within the body, no matter what it may be, it has already gone through all of these layers, okay, and presented itself somehow in the body, because we tend to ignore all of these layers, right? And we are, what we think, what we eat, what we feel has that effect on the body, okay? This is a multi-layered thing, and I'm just going to mention, you know, traumas that we experience, intergenerational traumas that we experience, all ends up eventually showing themselves up in the body. Okay. Now, remember at the beginning when I was talking about how everything is vibration and frequency, these illnesses, this dis-ease will have a vibrational frequency match to the trauma or to the emotion that you are feeling. Okay. For example, if we look at a various types of cancer, and I'm generalizing here, cancer is related to suppressed anger, okay? Suppressed anger, behind anger is usually grief, okay? Now, depending on where cancer presents itself, will then again have another meaning on top of that. So for example, and again, I'm generalizing, breast cancer, because it's part of the feminine aspect of who we are, could be suppressed anger due to the feminine lineage from our ancestors. So whether women were suppressed, whether women were not allowed to speak, whether women were needed to look a certain way or present themselves in a certain way, or, minimize themselves in a different way, that anger could work through the layers, that emotion, those thoughts, and then finally presents itself on a physical form in breast tissue. This is just an example. There are many. If you're working through some digestive issues, there is that aspect of us that we don't know how to release, digest life's circumstances or life's events to us that have happened with us. If we look at anything to do with our bones and our joints, bones are related to our structures. So not only are they the physical structures that protects our organs, but they also represent the physical structures of the foundations of our lives. So if we're having back issues, it's looking at, okay, what are the functions that support my life in general, and how are those structures at that time? Joints are usually about flexibility. So if you're having issues in your joints, I would look at how flexible, how agile you are in your thinking, in your being, and all things like that. So these are a few things that we look at. What happens with Reiki, when we're attuned to Reiki, or if you're seeing a Reiki practitioner, what happens is she's connecting to life force energy that runs. It's a frequency that runs through every single thing, bringing that energy in through them. And then from the abundance of that, usually it comes out from the palms of our hands, that Reiki practitioner is infusing the vibrational frequency of life force energy or Reiki energy into your system. So what's happening is, if that organ is not vibrating as its utmost, whether it's too fast or too slow, the Reiki energy will bring that into balance. Okay. So if we're feeling extremely stressed or anxious, Reiki energy has this amazing ability to calm the nervous system. Which is very, very interesting. And when our nervous system is calm, we are able to be open to seeing other possibilities. So for example, when somebody is angry, which a lot of anger is being surfaced at the moment, there's no point in speaking to somebody that is angry, or if you yourself are angry, allow that emotion to come through 100%. As adults, we are so used to suppressing our emotions, okay? I'm not saying take your anger out on anyone. I'm just saying feel it. If you need to move through it by walking, by screaming into a pillow, by connecting to nature, by listening to music, whatever it may be, allow that emotion to move through you, okay? And then surrender it, release it, let it go. A lot of the times when we suppress these emotions, it starts in craniosacral therapy is a technique, they call it actually energy cysts that present themselves within the body. So it is important to become childlike and experience that emotion 100%. When children are angry, they scream, they shout, they do what they need to do. When they're sad, they cry. There's nobody that can stop a child from crying when it's sad. But when they're happy, they're 100% happy, okay? And that is the suggestion of shifting those emotions through the body. So Reiki helps to surface these suppressed emotions sometimes in order for them to be released, okay? So it's very, very important. And I have been using Reiki for clearing any toxins in my system. You can also send Reiki to a certain time or a certain place. So for example, before I had an operation, again in my ankle, I prepped for that operation almost as if it was kind of like, how people prep to do a marathon. I started prepping my energy so that it was conducive and ready for that physical operation. And then I created a protocol of Reiki and energy healing, a few modalities to support the post-operation as well. So I was actually, and I tested these. So I went in for my operation at 6:30 in the morning. It was a 2.5-hour operation. By the time they got me into the theater and everything, I was out. I woke up at 11:30. And I managed to walk to the washroom, even though my ankle was just operated on, and they discharged me before lunch. Okay. And I was able to walk on my foot the next day as well. And then I carried on doing the healing principles. But the biggest healing principle that I used was Reiki. So the and you can do it if you need to take a vaccination, you can do it whatever you need to prep for medically, or it could be even, going to the dentist, whatever it may be, Reiki can be used in many ways for that. It can be used in meetings. It can be used for sending emails. It can be used for job interviews, whatever it may be. Sending energy or Reiki energy to the situation will also help to diffuse the situation as well, or bring in the highest light for that as well. So again, both medicines need to work together. This is an utmost time to start taking your healing into your own hands, because we really, really are responsible for our actions, for our thoughts, for our reactions, and most importantly, for our health. And if anything, the last 18 months has taught us, it is that we are completely responsible for our health. And it's actually forced us into extreme self-care. Okay. The only person that is going to be with you for the rest of your life is you. So you need to put you first, and it is your responsibility. Nobody else is responsible for your health and your well-being. Nobody else is responsible for your happiness, your sadness, your guilt, but you. So you need to start taking into that account the responsibility of your health, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual as well. Okay, so I would like to recommend, if you're not wanting to do Reiki yourself, that you go and connect to a Reiki practitioner. There's a lot of free stuff online. I've created a few videos on my YouTube channel that you can use that will help with that. I did one this morning, which was all about looking at the cellular structures. I've done a Reiki session for toxins, for flushing out your systems, your immunity, all the rest of that. There's free healings online, but also go and see a practitioner because it makes it a little bit more personal. But I would absolutely recommend taking at least Reiki level 1 to start learning to shifting the energy within your body, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Some people, I've been saying, natural health practitioners are going to be so busy post this pandemic for many decades, not only supporting the awakening of people, but to be supporting the healing of all of this that is surfacing at the moment. So there is an opportunity to start to support others by really becoming a Reiki practitioner. Even if you don't want to become a Reiki practitioner, each level has a set of attunements and opens you up spiritually to receive the life force energy. And what that is, like how I like to talk about the attunements, is like taking a radio dial and connecting to the frequency, a spiritual frequency that will help you to heal. And then the last one is a Reiki master for those of you that want to either teach or, again, want another attunement or want to go deeper into that as well. So this is how Reiki can be worked with current times, where you can become really, really specific at using energetic frequencies, because everything is made of energy, frequency, vibration, to really shift your mindset, to shift your physiology, and to shift the awakening of your spirituality. Because even those of us that have been awakened or on this path of spirituality, we are also going through an awakening. We're going deeper into our spirituality. We're looking at all the 3D constructs that placed us in a box, and that is starting to open up, and we're starting to work more in the 4th dimensional frequencies and the 5th dimensional frequencies. So we too are awakening at yet another level as well. And this is happening so that we can support all others that are starting their awakening process. And usually when we hit that rock bottom is when we start questioning who are we and why we are here. So I'd like to open up. If you have any questions, please pop them down in the chat box. I'm happy to answer anything about all things Reiki that will help support you. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I can get through them one by one. If you want me to clarify on what is life force energy as well, I can do that too. Any questions you have related to these specific times or to Reiki in itself, I'm happy to answer any of those. Okay, so the question is, could you talk more about life force energy? Okay, I can certainly talk about that for sure. So life force energy is omnipresent, which means it is everywhere at all times. So even if you're tapping in as a practitioner to give a session, you're first filling up yourself with this energy. Life force energy is a thread that moves through every living thing. Okay, if we look at it from, I like to see life force energy as the ATP protocol within our cells. It's the energy frequency that helps us to produce more cells in our bodies. But life force energy is this innate energy that runs through every single living thing. Okay. So when we're attuned to Reiki, we start to funnel that frequency through our bodies, through our cells, and through all aspects of who we are. So when we're working with Reiki, the practitioner is not giving from her own or his own energy, but is becoming a funnel for this life force energy that has its own intelligence and knows where it needs to go to raise the frequency of the body, the organ, of whatever it may be. So when we talk Reiki, but Reiki is really the channeling, which means becoming the funnel for this energy to be circulated, and then it comes out of the practitioner's hands. So when I was working for Wellsprings, after I became formalized, I ended up volunteering at Wellsprings, which is a cancer house here in Calgary. And it helped to support once the clients there had gone through chemo. What I started noticing that the life force energy would do would be shift the frequency and release the toxins within the body. So I used to joke because people would have a release, okay, which is also very, very common, which is either crying, vomiting, going to the washroom, whatever it may be. So I used to joke that I was really good at making people sleep or making them go to the washroom, because it helped to detoxify the frequencies or the energies within the body. So that is life force energy and how it works, which is very, very interesting. And then also a question is, I enjoy your guided meditation with Reiki session, and it's always necessary to know all the details. And this is always necessary to know the details of when we're doing our own healing. Absolutely. And when I'm doing kind of like guided healing, if you're a practitioner and you're working with somebody, if you're telling them what you're doing, it actually helps them to visualize and focus their energy on releasing the toxins or releasing the disease or releasing the emotion as well. And I find that very awesome, very, very much so. After you do your level 1 of healing, so Reiki level 1 is all about the self. Whenever we're doing any healing, it always starts with self, and then we give from the overflow. There is a 21-day protocol that of self-healing. So you will work through that. And it's really 7 days working, working through the 7 chakras 3 times over those 21 days. So the chakras are also linked to how we're feeling, to any blockages within our systems. So Reiki energy helps to bring up the vibrational frequency of our chakras, our meridians, and our energetic field as well. Yeah, any other questions? No? Okay, I hope this was informative for you, and I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to help. And just reach out to me at any time, either by email, so info@natashamart.com, or have a look on the Raising the Vibes website, which is just raisingthevibes.com. And yeah, I'll see you all soon. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.